Okay, we just finished CC Cycle 1, Week 4. And I'm going to go over what we did in class. So, the first thing we did was geography. Well, that wasn't the first thing, but intended to be. We had a little mix-up with maps. But the way we did the geography this week was the first thing was Hattusa. Buddy, shh. The first thing was Hattusa, which is just below the Black Sea. And at week 2, when we did the Black Sea, we talked about how it looked like a tennis shoe. It's a sticker from Ryan. A tennis shoe. And so we talked about how Hattusa was right beneath the Black Sea. And it was like the shoe was stepping on a hat. So Hattusa. And then we circled Asia Minor. And then we drew a big A on top of the Arabian Desert. And Cyprus, we just said over a couple of times, Cyprus is in the sea. Cyprus in the sea. So they could remember that Cyprus was one of those islands in the Mediterranean Sea. For timeline, so it starts with early Native Americans. This is what we did for early Native Americans. It's supposed to be like the feathers. Israel divides into 2 kingdoms. So you just make your hands like this, divides into 2 kingdoms. We take that 2, turn it into an H, sign language H, for Homer and Hesiod. Then we did Rome founded by Romulus and Remus. So this is your R. So for Romulus and Remus. Rome founded by Romulus and Remus. Let's see. Israel falls to Assyria. So we made an I for Israel, falls to Assyria. The same symbol we did for Assyria earlier. And then we do Assyria falls to Babylon. And then for Lao Tzu, Confucius, and Buddha, they were philosophers. So we made the sign language for P, which is just 2 fingers. Add your thumb and lower it down. And we did Lao Tzu, Confucius. And then for Buddha, we put our hands like this and put our head down, like you're praying. That was timeline. History is, again, a big mouthful. We just have a lot of words that go into the history sentences, but it's really cool because then whenever they memorize those history sentences, they know a lot of information in that one sentence. So we went over the sentence a couple of times, we sang it a couple of times, and then we removed some of the words and replaced them with images. So each 7 wonder of the world had an image, like the pyramids of Giza had a pyramid, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon had flowers, and then we did for Temple of Artemis, we just put a couple of columns, like the ruins. It shows that on the timeline card. If you have the timeline cards, you can see a picture of that. Statue of Zeus, we put a really rough drawing of a face with a man with a beard and wavy hair. Let's see, Mausoleum at Halicarnassus, we just drew like almost looked like a house, but it's supposed to look like a tall mausoleum. Pharaoh's Lighthouse, drew a lighthouse. And then for Colossus of Rhodes, we drew a stick man with little teeny tiny stick men beside him and a boat underneath. So if you refer again to the timeline cards, you'll see that. Let's see. Math, we had these dots that I found on CC Connected, and so we went through them, sang it a few times as we traced the numbers. That's what we did for math. Latin was a review, and so we just kind of reviewed that real fast, and then I had some of the kids come up and say it for us. English, our prepositions this week are before, behind, below, beneath, beside. So we did before, behind, and then we went like this. So if I'm standing, we went below, and then we squatted beneath. So it's the same motion, you just add a squat. So before, behind, below, beneath, beside. And that was English. For science, the parts of a plant cell, we had a few hand motions. And I also pointed out that the parts of a plant cell are, for our memory work purposes, the same parts as the animal cell with 2 additional pieces to remember. And the additional ones are cell wall and chloroplast. So the parts of a plant cell are, these are the hand motions we did: nucleus, chloroplast, nucleus, chloroplast, vacuoles. So vacuoles are the storage parts of the cell, so I kind of think like storage containers or little pockets. Mitochondria, so we went mitochondria because it's the energy area. So mighty and you make energy. Let's see, mitochondria, let's see, cell membrane, and then we made like a box for cell wall. Chloroplast, we kind of acted like it was a blast, although it's chloroplast, so we went chloroplast. And then for Golgi bodies, we went Golgi bodies. And that was all the new grammar. For review, we went outside and we did different stations where we drew on the ground areas for them to hop. So they would jump in different directions, walk, run, jump, spin around in circles, shimmy against a wall, all those different things. So we had 3 different stations with 3 different moms, and they would answer a question, and then they'd follow the chalk, either jumping or running or spinning, whatever the chalk kind of told them to do. And that's what we did for review. I think it went really well, so we'll probably do that again in the future. And I guess that's it. Okay, thanks.